Hi, I'm Amanda, wellness dietitian at the Lung Health Institute, and I am super excited about today's Wellness Wednesday topic because we are talking about fluids and hydration. Now, this is one of the things that I've talked to many patients about, and if they just increase their fluid intake, have a noticeable difference in how much better they feel. So one tiny little thing that we're going to talk about today can make a huge difference in how well you're breathing and how good you're feeling throughout the day. So why is fluid so important? Well, basically because 83% of your lungs are made up of water. So if you're not drinking enough water and staying hydrated, it's really going to have a strong impact on your lungs, which rely on it just to function well. So let's look at some of the benefits of staying well hydrated. So lung function, obviously, as I mentioned, if you get dehydrated, your lungs aren't getting the water that they need to function well, and you may notice that your breathing is more difficult. It feels like the air is going and it's just dry, and it just makes it uncomfortable to breathe in general. Mucus production. A lot of you may have problems with excess mucus or sticky, thick mucus that's hard to get out of the lungs. If you stay hydrated, it's going to thin that mucus, and thinner mucus is easier to expel, easier to get out of the lungs. So that's another reason to stay well hydrated. We have inflammation. So when our body builds up a toxic burden, it's going to cause inflammation. Inflammation is going to result in problems with your breathing and in your lungs. So when we stay hydrated, we're allowed to get rid of those toxins. You know, I tell patients all the time, the 3 ways to naturally detox are to poop, to pee, to sweat every day. So a lot of those require fluids to be able to do. So if you're drinking water, you're eliminating toxins that are causing inflammation, and therefore you're reducing inflammation. So those 3 are more specific to the lungs and inflammation, but dehydration or not getting enough fluid really has a strong impact on your brain as well. So if you tend to have brain fog, forget where things are all the time, and just don't feel like you're 100% there, that could be a sign that you're not getting enough fluid. Also, energy. I talk to patients all the time that complain of fatigue, tiredness, feeling weak. And a lot of times, although they may not realize it, that is a result of being dehydrated or not drinking enough water. So when you increase your fluid intake, it allows you to have more energy throughout the day and just feel better. So these are some of the many benefits that making sure you're staying well hydrated and drinking enough fluid can bring in terms of lung health and just general health and wellness. So when we say drink enough water, what's the first question that comes to your mind? Well, how much is enough? How much do I need? What does that mean? So let's bring over here and talk about the amounts. Now, there are multiple equations that can help you determine your fluid needs. So the one that we use in our anti-inflammatory initiative is 1 ounce of fluid per 2 pounds, I made a mistake there, 2 pounds, 1 ounce of fluid for 2 pounds of body weight. So that's gonna come with some variations, but let's just give an example. So say you weigh 150 pounds. So half your weight, that's 75 pounds, your general starting point is gonna be about 75 ounces of fluid a day, particularly water. So by variations, what that means is there's a variation by weight. If you tend to be low body weight and you're trying to gain weight, you may want to actually increase those fluid needs beyond what that equation is going to tell you. Or if you have some excess weight and you're carrying around more than you'd like, then that may end up giving you very high fluid and unrealistic fluid goals. So you may want to knock that down a little bit. So weight can make variations in your fluid needs. Another thing that can is your climate. So if you're in a hot, humid area or a hot and dry area where you're just sweating out water or evaporating water, losing it quickly, then you're going to want to increase your fluid needs. If you're very active and you exercise a lot and you sweat a lot, that's going to be a reason that you want to increase your fluid needs. So we have that general equation here, and I'm just going to fix it so it doesn't confuse you guys. Per 2 pounds body weight, when you're looking at that later. So that's going to be a general guideline. Now, These are all starting points. When someone does a calculation on how much fluid or how much food you need to eat, keep in mind that that's always a general guideline. Everyone's going to be a little bit different about what amount of fluid intake makes them feel their best. So some things that I look at as far as gauging if I'm drinking enough water, and I encourage you to do so as well, is the frequency of how many times you're going to the bathroom. If it's been 4, 5, 6 hours and you don't remember having gone to the bathroom, chances are you're not getting enough water. So you want to be using the restroom about every 2 hours, meaning that you're well hydrated. The color of your urine. If you haven't heard about that, every time you go to the bathroom, you should be looking in the bowl. It gives you a lot of information about what's going on inside. So when it comes to adequate hydration, you want your urine to be a nice pale color, like a pale lemonade or a straw color. If it starts to get darker, like apple juice, iced tea, that's usually a good indication that you need some water, you're not drinking enough. And you may notice this in the morning for those of you that do look in the bowl after you go. In the morning, it's always going to be a little bit darker because naturally we get dehydrated overnight. And then during the day, you'll notice your urine's getting lighter as you're eating more, drinking more. But the frequency, how often you go, the color of your urine, those are big signs to know, am I getting enough water? Am I getting enough fluids? And the other one I have here is symptoms. If you do notice that you're getting headaches often, or you're low in energy, or you're just feeling weak, if you're thirsty, things like that, those are all symptoms that you're not drinking enough. So even if you're meeting your goals for the day, but you find out that you just don't have a lot of energy, you're not going to the bathroom as often as you think you should, then those are good indicators that you should drink enough. So don't always chase the numbers, really get in tune with how you feel, and that's going to give you the best information on if you're drinking enough and how much you need to drink more or less. So I like to end with considerations because I know that's always a big thing, and these are some ones that I'm sure you guys want to know. What about alcohol? What about caffeine? And what counts as fluids? Is it only water when we talk about staying hydrated? So let's talk about alcohol first. So alcohol is a diuretic, and what that means is when you drink alcohol, your body dumps excess water. So if you have a problem staying hydrated, alcohol is probably not going to be your best friend in this situation. So what alcohol does is it suppresses this hormone called antidiuretic hormone, which allows our body to absorb fluid. So when this hormone is suppressed, the body doesn't know that it has to store the fluid, so it literally just gets rid of it, which is why alcohol is so dehydrating and why you may notice when you drink more, you end up going to the bathroom more because your body is just not absorbing the fluid because you had the alcohol. So that's one of those considerations. We don't recommend it as a regular practice, particularly in the first 30 days of our anti-inflammatory initiative. So if you do drink alcohol, do so in moderation, 1 or 2 drinks if you're a lady or a gentleman, and then no more than that. Caffeine. Now this is one you may be surprised because you may have heard from one of your medical physicians that you can't drink caffeine because it's a diuretic and there's no point. Whatever you drink is just going out of your system. That's actually not true, and they've shown that with research studies by reviewing the research. So you have to drink about 500 milligrams of caffeine for it to have a diuretic effect. And that's going to be more than 4 cups of coffee. So if you're drinking 5, 6, 7 cups of coffee a day, then maybe you want to be concerned with the diuretic effect of the caffeine. But in general, if you're just drinking a cup in the morning, cup in the afternoon, a couple cups a day, then the amount of fluid that you're taking in with that caffeine, be it in the form of coffee or tea, is going to be beneficial for you. So don't be scared of the caffeinated beverages. If they give you a little perk of energy, they taste better, so it gets more fluid in you, then I say go for it. So just water. Now this is always a big thing. When you're looking at hydration, really all fluids count, including the stuff you get in your food. Things like soup broths and fruits and vegetables all contain water, and that goes towards your fluid needs. When we're looking at our equation here, we're looking more at the liquids that you drink, but it doesn't just have to be water. Now, I do encourage you to stay away from the sweetened beverages like juices and sodas, sweet teas, things that provide a lot of sugar, because as I've mentioned in one of these videos before, sugar does cause inflammation and can make it difficult for you to breathe. So instead of just plain old water. You can do any kind of herbal tea or black or green tea. You can do coffee. There's a wide different varieties of coffees for different flavors. You can also do fruit infused water. So that's a little different than juice where they're squeezing the fruit and that's what you're drinking. This is where you chop up fruits or even vegetables, herbs, things like that. You put them in the water. Let that water sit for a little bit and you get that flavor. So there's also a lot of seltzer waters or bubbly waters, as I like to call them at my house, carbonated beverages that are just, carbonated water, and then they have some flavors added. So they don't have sweeteners, either natural or artificial added. And along those lines, because I know that question's going to come up, when we say no sugar, we're also referring to the artificial sweeteners as well, because they are chemicals introduced to the body and the body doesn't really know what to do with them. So you can have an inflammatory response if you're drinking a lot of diet beverages, things like Crystal Light. So we prefer you to stick with the naturally unsweetened beverages and go from there, get your hydration that way. So one tip that is in our wellness plan that I know several people swear by when it comes to fluids is making it one of the first things you do in the morning. So I challenge you guys after watching this video that every day start your morning with 8 to 16 ounces of water. Before you do anything else, make sure you start that hydration process, and I guarantee you're going to feel that much better. So if you have any questions from today's video, please put them in the comment section below and we'll be happy to answer them. And enjoy the rest of your Wellness Wednesday. Bye.